1 and 2 Samuel are really one book, and we should read them like that. And they come just after the period of the Judges, and they mark the end of the period of the Judges and a new era in Israel's history. It begins by focusing on Hannah, this faithful servant of God, who sings this beautiful song when she eventually conceives and gives birth to her son Samuel. And it points forward to another song, 1,000 years later, sung by Mary, the mother of Jesus. In this song of Hannah's, we see that a king is to come who is going to be humble, and primarily that is about David, but actually the kind of longer prophetic message there is that from the line of David, we're going to see the King of Kings come, a better David, a better king. And then what she does is she dedicates Samuel to God, and he's brought up by Eli the priest. Now, Israel really wants a king at this time. And they want a king for all the wrong reasons. They don't want to sit under the kingship of God. They want a king like the Philistines and the other nations who are battle hardy. And they look at them and think, we need a leader like that to unite us, to lead us into battle, and to be a powerful nation together. But God is still going to honor their desire despite the wrong motives. First, he gives them a king in King Saul, and he begins well, but his heart quickly turns and ends up in the wrong place. He's full of jealousy and pride, and he pursues his own glory and his own crown rather than God's crown and God's glory. Same error of the people, but God is raising up an unlikely and humble king, and through Samuel, this boy, David, from the fields, is anointed king. The stories in 1 and 2 Samuel tell us about what it means to know God. In the midst of failure, of opposition, and of temptation, we see how God is gracious to those who turn from their own crowning glory to God's. In the end, we want to read these books and come away wanting to be like David in many ways, certainly in his heart, whose desire is to spend all his days in the house of the Lord. 1 and 2 Samuel are deeply theological. They don't come across that way because they're told through these fascinating life stories of the prophet Samuel, King Saul and King David, and glimpses from other lives as well, like Hannah's. But in those stories, we see something of who God is and who we are, and how we pursue God in the ups and downs of life. And our prayer is that as you read this, you would increasingly seek after God's heart and his house to be established in this city. That you would live to see Glaswegians' lives given to God's ways and to find satisfaction in his presence, to have hearts like David, after God's, wanting to spend all their days with him, knowing him better. Enjoy 1 and 2 Samuel.